Everyone, and welcome back to Therapy for Nerds, psychoeducation through nerdy topics. I'm your host, Cassidy, and I found an intro that I really like, so you're going to be hearing that a lot. Anyways, guess who recently saw Spider-Man Far From Home? That's right, me. So, if you haven't seen Far From Home and Endgame, please go away. I don't know what you're doing here. I don't know why you would click this, because there are spoilers ahead. And if you haven't seen Endgame, I mean, really, what are you doing? Please go make it the most highest grossing film of all time, because for some reason it really bothers me that Avatar still is. Or at least was at the time of the recording. Hopefully Endgame can beat it. Far From Home starts with a low-budget looking memorial video to the heroes lost in Endgame. It shows that it was made by a bunch of high schoolers, so it kind of makes sense. The thing that is most noticeable in Far From Home right from the beginning is how uncomfortable Peter is in the spotlight. In an early scene, he is shown helping to raise money for people who were displaced by the blimp, which is what everyone is calling this whole people coming back from the snap. His aunt has a nice speech about her own experience appearing in her own apartment that was now owned by someone else, and just weirdness happening. Spider-Man is then brought in to only say a few words, which he can barely get out because he's so nervous. Giving speeches is not something he's used to. He's more used to punching criminals as opposed to fighting poverty. One is lots more simple than the other. And something that doesn't help is Peter notices how Happy seems to be getting a little close to his aunt. When the press is allowed to ask him questions, they immediately go for the tough questions. Who is going to take over as head of the Avengers? Who will protect us now? The world is mourning the loss of the world's greatest heroes and wants someone to take over. Iron Man helped them feel safe, and without him, they want someone new. The world has seen that there are intergalactic dangers that the average person can't really protect themselves from. They need someone that can protect them. One prospect that people are putting a stake on is Spider-Man. To many, he seems like the perfect candidate. He has a close relationship with Iron Man, he makes the neighborhood feel safe, and he is super strong and super smart. And he would be a fantastic candidate if he wasn't also a child. Peter is a kid. All he wants to do is have fun, and he is overwhelmed by these high expectations that people and the world seems to have for him. Being a superhero seems like a great idea when there isn't much responsibility to it. My point is, being a superhero for New York is far less stressful than being an Avenger. Less stressful than feeling like the fate of the world rests in his web, which if he were to take over as Iron Man, it would be. Since most people don't know his age, people are asking a lot more from Spider-Man than what they should really be expecting. His aunt doesn't even seem to help the matter by sneaking his spider suit into his suitcase when he goes on his trip. But the main offender, the main person to step over appropriate boundaries that Peter attempts to set, the one, the only, except totally not the one and only apparently, Nick Fury. And for the purpose of this video, we are going to consider Nick Fury as the one and only Nick Fury because I don't want to get into any of that. I don't know where they're going with that storyline. We'll see. At the fundraiser, Happy warns Peter that Fury will be calling him. Then the phone rings, and Peter decides not to answer. So normally ghosting someone is not a great way to set boundaries, and I say normally because there are exceptions. Sometimes if that other person is dangerous, then it is totally appropriate to ghost someone. Ghosting Nick Fury, though, probably not the best of ideas. Because Nick Fury apparently has ways of finding you no matter what, which is honestly a little weird. And I mean, he introduces himself to Peter by breaking into his hotel room and tranquilizing his roommate. Can't say I blame Peter for ghosting Fury. Peter first attempts to set boundaries with Fury, and it does not go well. Peter tells Fury that he's just a kid and asks if there's anyone else to help. After all, Fury is asking a lot of Peter. He's asking for Peter to take over the place of his idol, step into Iron Man's shoes, and protect the whole world. That's a lot to ask from a 16-year-old kid. Fury has a hard time understanding why Peter's first reaction is to turn him down. Fury also mistakes Peter's attempts to set boundaries with obstacles that need to be taken care of. So Fury derails Peter's entire school trip in order to have Peter help save the world. Now, Peter should have been entitled to a vacation. I mean, yes, the if the world had actually been in any danger, then sometimes you have to attend to a crisis. But there was no actual crisis. Honestly, I feel like this is a good metaphor for crisis boundary crossing people that will demand your help no matter what. Peter needs time to recover emotionally from the blip, and his idol literally dying in his arms. A vacation is overdue for this poor child. Peter's next attempt to set boundaries between his normal and superhero life goes terribly. He gives the bad guy the keys to a flock of killer droids. Oh, you poor child. In Peter's defense, he thought he was doing the right thing. Tony did put a lot of responsibility on Peter by giving him the keys to this death machine. Honestly, I don't know what Tony expected. Peter has a pretty poor track record with new technology. No. I don't know why he didn't just give it to Pepper. I bet she would have known what to do with it. But Peter is able to correct these mistakes. More or less. I loved how Peter was able to set a strong boundary with Fury at the end of the film, and I am so glad that Happy was able to back him up on it. Of course, Peter's gonna have a really hard time setting boundaries between work and personal life now that his secret has been exposed. Is there a Spider-Man that has ever had his whole identity exposed like this? I was not expecting that. Let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear thoughts. Also, what are your experiences trying to set boundaries with people? Do people acknowledge those boundaries? Let me know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and want to see more like it, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that YouTubery stuff. All right. Bye.